Hey everybody, welcome back. We took a week off, but we're still here podcasting for you. We've done this 643 times. Let's do it 644. It's September 15. It's Wednesday. I'm Sebastian Peak.
Call me Turd Ferguson.
Nice.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sprumberg, and guess what I'm not wearing?
The
Underwear.
Sunglasses?
Oh,
that you
an
were-
oversized hat.
My normal glasses. I
Oh,
found
okay.
I found contacts that fit my very out-of-spec eyeballs. So I thought I'd go with those this evening.
Did you have the, like, what is that?
But I can-
LASIK surgery?
I did not, but I can wear these again. Mr. Peak, please continue the show. We're watching.
All right, I'll just try not to look at the monitor. You can go to pcper.com. That's our website. And the /subscribe is subscribe link on there. You can get an email. I got one earlier that reminded me we had to do a show tonight. And that's what I use it for. And you can use it that way too, to remember to catch the excitement of the live broadcast, which is, there's so much more to the live broadcast than you ever see in the edited podcast. Most of
you
it
remove
you
it all,
should
don't
never
you?
see,
Correct.
but there's a reason it was cut out. But you never judge for yourself. Watch it live. Chat with us. You can support the site and our podcast distribution by heading over to patreon.com/PCPer. Become a patron of PCPer. Do we have a This Week in Patreon update, Brett?
I love that throw, by the way. That was great. Let's keep that. In fact, we do. Actually, Gavin Thomas, a very nice, normal sounding name, decided that he was going to become a patron of PC Perspective and whatever art form that we're exercising here. Another patron named EAT. I'm just going to pronounce that EAT because that's kind of what it spells. They were great at throwing a little bit more into the PC Perspective hat and keeping us on the air and keeping this whole thing moving along. And one that I can only determine, I think he wants to be called simply C#. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Maybe it's the note, musical note, or maybe it's the language. I'm not even sure. But yeah,
Bloody
new patrons,
ignorant.
good people all.
I would assume, given our content and the subject, that it's got to be the programming
Probably
language,
the
right?
Language, probably the
Yeah, which is C
Java-esque
Octothorpe.
language.
Mm-hmm.
C Octothorpe, yes, or the pound, C pound.
Yeah. But that doesn't
Pound.
confuse people as much as pulling out
Not-
Octothorpe.
Not at all.
Pound, C, pound. C, pound, pound. No.
If an Octothorpe could pound pounds, how many pounds would Sharp Octopus pound?
Okay. Josh, I have a question
Anyways,
for
talk
you.
about your burger.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
seamlessly moving to Burger of the Week, but I don't see a photo. I just see a picture of the sign. Is there more?
Let me just look closer.
Well, do you want to... Oh, gosh. I got to
Well-
post this.
We'll wait while Josh tweets. 'cause-
Okay, well, it just went out onto the interwebs. So this is the spicy southern chicken sandwich. And I found that it was not terribly spicy. But, I mean, other than Louisiana, I mean, is most food in the South spicy? I mean, Tex-Mex, they're kind of spicy in South, but go to, Georgia, Tennessee. Do you get much spicy food there? I guess they got that place with the hot chicken. That's pretty good. It's pretty hot. I don't know. Nashville hot? Anyway, what's on this thing? The Southern Spicy Chicken Grilled chicken topped with pepper jack cheese, guacamole, mushrooms, and jalapenos. And for some reason, they put on lettuce, tomato, and onions as well, even though I didn't order that. But that's okay, because it did add to the flavor, and it was a little bland, and I feel bad. Because usually I have always a good experience at Born in a Barn, but today was just bland. I probably should have got the Angry Buffalo spicy chicken sandwich, which would have been a lot hotter. But this was, it was tasty, but just not what I was looking for, I guess. The fries were okay. They were just okay. They weren't seasoned as well as they usually are. Maybe my taste was just off today. Maybe it's
Josh,
off
it
every
sounds
day.
like
I don't know. Ask my wife.
Sounds like an honest review, actually. So
So let's just talk objectively about Windows 11. Who wants to handle this? The title of the story that Jeremy posted on the 7th is Less Than a Month Ago, and Windows 11 isn't ready to start. I sense a bit of a pun there.
Jeremy's a lot like that with his titling.
October 5, it's coming. It's coming quick.
Yeah.
You know, if only they could get the gang back together and dance to Start Me Up again.
Oh,
That would
Really?
just make everything perfect. The worst dancing that you've ever seen from mid 40-year-old tech people.
Yeah. It was not pretty.
Palmer, Start Me Up.
So yeah, Windows 11 still has a variety of issues. I don't know. That was written back on the 7th. I know we've been away for a couple of weeks here, so it might not be as fresh. But the next one kind of freshens that up. I think Jeremy wrote the current state on this
Okay,
one.
the current. Yes, I like this. The current state.
Yeah.
This title. Okay, if this is supposed to be positive,
It's not.
the title needs some work. And when you gaze long into an abyss, Windows 11 also gazes into you.
Now, Jeremy, this got some traction on Twitter, so you should go into this.
Big gods, did it really?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. And sorry, I've made so much fun of Windows 10 and Windows 11 that it's kind of hard to remember exactly which one this was. But yeah, so TechGauge gazed into the abyss that is the Windows 11 installation process and walked you through, how it currently is going to work. And I mean, there's a lot of similarities if you're familiar with doing a Windows 10 install on screen, like say me earlier today. And there's some things that are a little bit different. But one of the nice things that I saw, and I mean, you've got to give them credit for this, is that as you're installing Windows, it actually offers you a chance to enter a network name, instead of just randomly assigning some bloody name to your computer, which you then have to change, and technically never really changes in certain parts of Windows. So by being able to change it during the installation, that's actually kind of a nice thing. Of course, then once you get booted up and you're into Windows, it's widgets everywhere, widgets all the way down, because that's just how they're going to go. And yes, this is the screens you're looking at now, and for those audio listeners, it's like a clown vomited on your screen. Yeah, it's just not a great way to go through an installation, but it could honestly.
What if the
be
clown was
worse.
John Wayne Gacy? What would that vomit look like?
There'd be some bits in there you wouldn't want to describe.
Okay, anyway, moving along.
Jeremy, I'm going to assume that you reinstalled Windows 10 today. Is that a solid
yes.
assumption? Yeah, I thought
Yes.
so.
I'm
Why not
that
11?
insane.
Well.
Let me list the reasons.
Is there an easy way to get around a Microsoft account just like there was before, or is it harder to get to limited setup?
So they didn't actually try this, but I'm assuming that if you pull your network cable, essentially at the beginning of the process, it will grudgingly offer you the chance of doing a local user.
Local admin. Yeah.
Now, the lovely thing is that it prompts you, and it will for Windows 11 too, is that is this a personal computer or an enterprise computer? To which, and I did vocally scream loud enough that my upstairs neighbor was kind of wondering I was upset about. What lunatic enterprise person is going to be installing vanilla Windows? You are not installing from a basic Windows 10 or 11. Yes, you are working with a SCCM, your manufacturer's particular image files. You want them all to be the same, and you don't need solitaire on there as much as Microsoft really, really wants you to. So that entire
I disagree
choice,
because in a smaller thing, I mean, we're 400, less than 500 people, and we have we do Dells here and there that we don't have a single image for all of our stuff, and so yes, I do have to go through the basic Windows
Ouch.
install. I mean, it's not bad.
No.
I mean, we've got that down to about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
No. Because
Those are individual
as well.
computers. Those aren't like lab computers. Those are like, hey, we're setting you up. You're going to do your work at your workstation, and this is an individual install.
Everybody needs laptops because there's so many people who travel.
Okay.
And so
All right.
we wipe the Dell crap off
Of course.
and their install, and we install fresh as basic and possible and secure it up and put all of our own stuff on there so that it's basic and not a whole lot of cruft. We do that individually just because we have, we go in batches of like 10 or 12 laptops every 3 months. So you don't get the same product year on year or even, quarter on quarter sometimes.
Oh, not in quarter on quarter even, man, right now.
Yeah.
Do you time to remote management? You time to remote management still after that, or is everybody on their own?
No, we have we use AEM for remote management.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And an Active Directory, of course. We have everything locked down in there as well. And I'm trying not to do too many secrets of my other job. But,
Well, I was about to say,
no, we do go through the things like we have the media installation stuff and put it on USB drive and delete the partitions and load it up from scratch. And we do it. We found that's easier just because the variability of products that we offer our employees.
There's a lovely thing called Dell Image Assist, which will actually let you bake in an image with all of that on there. And it consists of a boot disk and an image disk, which might be handy for you.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we could get worse. I could go into why HKey classes root should never freaking be touched, but is the main thing for everything in Windows 11. But I thought I'd keep it light.
Still.
AMD has some good news.
Are they in the news again?
They are. AMD. It seems like every time, and I'm quoting myself.
Something about Intel cutting their prices to compete with them, or was that a different
I don't know if we have that on our
No.
news list. That we can talk about that next week.
They're going to have their Zen moment. That's what I hear. Word on the street is
I see.
Intel's going to have their
Zen,
Zen
and
moment.
it's like a performance thing. Performance and value. Okay. AMD, they seem to be bringing new features to their driver updates all the time these days. And that's what we're getting with Adrenalin 21.9.1. They're bringing 3 things to the table here. We'll start with what sounded like the coolest thing, auto overclocking. 5000 series Ryzen processors paired with Radeon 6000 series GPU. So there's the problem. It's easy to get a 5000 series CPU now. You've got to have one of those new GPUs. And if you have both of those, if you're one of those lucky few, you can, right from the performance tab in the Radeon software, overclock your whole system automatically. So if you're not, there's motherboard software for this. There's obviously a lot of solutions for this. AMD obviously has their own PBO stuff that you can run for just the CPU. But it's nice that they're doing a single click tuning of your system. But you read, and there's this little asterisk at the end of the quote here, and I'm like, oh, what's the asterisk? So I find the footnote. Quote, overclocking and or undervolting AMD processors and memory, including without limitation, altering clock frequencies, multipliers, or memory timing voltage to operate outside of AMD's published specifications will void any applicable AMD product warranty, even when enabled via AMD hardware and or software. This may also void warranties offered by the system manufacturer or retailer. And it goes on about all the risks and liabilities that you are assuming.
Does this now include rage mode?
I don't know. Is that
Because
not
that
AMD
was
software
one of the
overclocking?
things- But it's been in existence for quite a while now, and there was no warning about it voiding warranty. But when you brought that up, and I looked and I went to download it and realized that my computer was unable to run Windows installers anymore, it was like, wait a second, so does that mean that Rage is included in this, or it's only the newer overclocking options, which I now have installed and are separate? You need to sort of turn it on and say, yes, I agree, whereas Rage mode is a preset.
I don't know.
But
All I know is that I thought I was in a drug commercial there for a minute. And the side effects may include nausea, vomiting, and death.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
But hey, there was some
They
good
didn't
news.
include such a warning with Ryzen Master, did they? I don't remember seeing that.
It's okay. It hardly ever launches anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, it launched for me a couple of times.
I guess we'd have to look at at documentation for this stuff, because this is just a disclaimer that was part of AMD's blog post.
Mm-hmm.
So
Weird.
The other stuff that was announced, Windows 11 support officially, that's good. If you're running Windows 11, now you have the latest AMD drivers. But last but absolutely not least, AMD Smart Access Memory now works on RX 5000 series GPUs. That would have been a big enough feature alone without the auto overclocking thing. So the obviously very large install base of RX 5000 versus 6000 can enjoy AMD SAM. It does say that you need to have either a Ryzen 5000 or Ryzen 3000 series processor and an AMD 500 series motherboard. So you can't...
Which is a bit of a kicker, but still not bad.
It's not bad. So if you upgraded your system fairly recently, but still can't get the latest graphics card, because that's the world we live in, then at least you can get a performance boost from AMD SAM. So that's nice. Because FSR, obviously backwards compatible. Now SAM is too. So that's good. They're taking care of their users here.
And with that level of board requirement, they're probably ensuring the highest amount of VRM capacity. I mean, that would be my guess.
Yeah. And actually, I'm looking at the YouTube comments. Wait, SAM works with Zen 2? And I just realized that. Yeah, if it works with Ryzen 3000, then SAM was not some exclusive technology to Ryzen 5000 processors. And really,
NVIDIA
of course,
figured that out.
Yeah, we know what it is. It's just it's part of the PCI Express spec.
Yep.
So, okay. That's the AMD news. The good and the bad.
Yay,
Don't auto overclock unless you want to avoid your warranty.
my back.
You sure that's your back?
Oh, that was definitely my back. Labor Day weekend. I went to my sister-in-law's house. She's like, Josh, could you go check the propane tank? We need to grill something. It doesn't seem to be working.
Oh.
She also has two 70-pound dogs. And they're very excited to see me in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And so I reached down to try to shake that, and they both jumped on me, and I just felt my back go ping.
Oh, no.
And it was painful, and it grew painful. And then I went to chiropractor on Friday, and he was like, oh, this will fix you right up. Saturday, it was
so how'd that go?
Yeah, no, it was terrible. And then at 11:30 at night, I was walking funny. I was like, well, let me try to straighten out my spine. And I shifted a certain way, and suddenly my entire left side of my body spasmed and cramped at the same time. And it was honestly some of the most painful experience I've ever had in my life. And this is coming from when I was in the 6th grade. I was running on top of desks, which I shouldn't have been doing. And I made a 90-degree turn. And, of course, the desk flipped out from under me because I didn't quite understand Newton's laws of physics. And I hit the floor, and I broke my wrist. And the old radius was sticking up here. It didn't poke through the skin, but it was nicely broken. And I sat on my desk after we picked up the other one, and I slowly was pressing it down, pressing, pulling, and I set my own wrist, and then it started swelling up like a balloon, and I finally went to the teacher, who was not in the room, obviously, when I was running across the desk. And so anyway, I set my own wrist fracture, but that was nothing as compared to what I experienced on Saturday night. And I was essentially immobile for 11 hours, and my wife wanted to call the ambulance for me, but I was like, no, I'm going to try to tough it out. And
she just wanted you to have an epidural.
No, essentially what happened was apparently my potassium was really low. And whenever these major muscle groups in my left side of my back would spasm, they would also get a Charlie horse at the same time.
Yep.
And so it was like a magnified bit of pain, and my left leg would shoot up into the air, and my calf would cramp, and my hamstring would cramp. And it was really unpleasant.
Josh, I think you just need to drink more. Make these painful memories go away.
You know what? If you were just a little bit more relaxed, that probably would have been.
Probably
right
drinking did not help.
Oh,
So anyway.
Oh,
okay.
Well, you shouldn't have been drinking when you were that young, running on the desks.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Yeah, there's not a ton to do out there sometimes.
Hey, we could make fun of Apple.
Here we go. The register.
oh, what's this?
Emergency.
So,
app.
Apple had a really big announcement that, made some press headlines, is that there were two giant freaking flaws for iOS. Essentially, they're both being currently used, and as Apple tends to do when they're screaming and yelling about how they're more secure than anyone and you don't need to click anything to get infected, well, they proved it again by another iMessage bug where you receive a file which has been essentially renamed as a PDF. And if someone messages you, you don't even have to answer the damn thing before it's triggered an integer overflow and is now running whatever code it sort of feels like on your iPhone. It has been patched, so if you haven't updated your phone, you probably should do that because, again, a mass text of 1,000 people, you're all infected now. Congratulations. The second one is off of their WebKit rendering engine for browsing the web. And once again, if you just manage to visit a site that has it, it's a use after free memory vulnerability, and without, again, touching a thing, because Apple likes to be, they like their UI to be intuitive, so you don't have to do anything to get to the next step. You're, again, going to be running unsigned code of whatever the hell they feel like doing. So yeah, the first one, you can patch. Second one, not so much, but it's coming. And that's the biggest news out of Apple this week.
That's actually it's actually true. I mean, there's a higher volume of news, but probably nothing more important than that. But Brett, please guide us through everything Apple announced.
All right, I'm going to do this in a time that would be appropriate for how long you'll let me actually talk about it.
Just keep going. I'm going to go get another drink so I can drain more potassium from my system. And when I walk back here and sit down, I'll get giant cramps, and you'll hear a sound out of my mouth that would not believe possible. What? Are you ready?
It's going to be a girly scream, isn't it?
It's anyway. Freak my wife out. But anyway, on to more pain called Apple.
Okay, there's very little pain involved in Apple's announcement here. Very little, except for a couple things that they might have missed. A couple of observations that hot takes that I might have on this. Anyway, interesting bits. iPhone 13 has come out. New chip, A15. Doesn't look like it's all that much faster than the A14. I happened to catch a review that said, hey, did you notice that that this is the first time that they have not compared it with their immediate previous generation and said how much faster their latest chip is than the previous generation? They compared it with the other industry's fastest. My guess is that once these get in people's hands, we'll discover that the A15 is marginally faster than the A14, but not tremendously. So they've got the Pro versions have a 5-core variant. The not Pro versions have a 4-core variant. They have big, little in them. I might actually pick up an iPhone 13 non-Pro as an upgrade to my SE2, just so that we can have one to play around with. Plus, it looks like it's got some better cameras, and that's where a lot of their technology improvements went. Cameras, image acquisition. They've got the motion, the deblurring motion camera capture, so that it compensates for the motion in that. That's pretty cool. They brought that down. Some of their software tweaks they brought in center stage so that into the iPads, so that the lower end iPads could now be able to track multiple people in the scenes. But I thought the interesting thing is that the new Mini, which I might actually get one of those as well. I have a very old Mini, so I'm practically due for an upgrade on that one. Might make a better phone in some ways than the phone, simply because the Mini actually has USB-C. And the cameras, of course, are capable of 4K, and the iPhone 13 Pros are capable of ProRes, huge files.
I thought they were abandoning all inputs on them, and it was just a totally sealed thing now.
No,
you had to
no,
wirelessly charge.
They need to get rid of
No,
the
but
screen. The screen wastes so much real estate on that beautiful.
The notch is
obelisk.
20%. The notch is 20% smaller in the iPhone 13, so it's
Brett,
it was embarrassing.
I have a
large.
question.
Yeah,
Not sorry.
I
to
might not know
interrupt.
the answer. No, go ahead.
Is there anything Apple announced that you're not planning on buying?
I'm not going to get a Pro 13. I'm thinking about upgrading my phone to the latest 13. My Mini is a original Mini 2, Retina Mini 2, so I'm probably due for an upgrade, and I like the Mini form factor.
How do you feel about the Mini being priced more than $100 above a standard iPad? Wasn't the Mini supposed to be the cheaper, smaller iPad when it launched?
They do actually have the kind of the standard iPad that's the larger, like the 10-inch, approximately 10-inch variant one. That is the entry-level one, and I think that's aimed primarily at institutions and educational,
or just people who don't want to spend more money.
Well, it's their top seller, and they did improve that. They did give some software tweaks, some camera tweaks, speed tweaks, hardware.
I just find it
tweaks,
ridiculous
things.
that the Mini is now more expensive than the standard iPad. And
True, but they did actually give a nice screen improvement, camera improvements, internal improvements on that. But it is a little
what
bit too
about the
pricey.
storage?
I agree with you.
The storage for $500 is 64 gigs, and the highest option they offer is 256.
Are you sure they still have a 64 gig variant?
I thought
of
it was
that? I thought the bottom was
The
all
phones
128
all
now.
start at 128.
The phones are all 128 now. They dropped the 64s. Yeah, that's true. So, like I said, I thought the iPad Mini was a decent improvement. And I don't own an Apple Watch, believe it or not. I do not own an Apple Watch. So, I don't know. My son, who's into like his Apple Watch, is telling me, "Oh, Dad, you got to get a 7 now." So I don't know. I'll look at it. I'm not
The
sure.
7
so,
uses the same internals as the 6. That's what I heard.
Except
so it's
the
a bigger
screen is a little bit bigger.
Right.
I don't know if they
I said
made
internals.
anything faster or not.
No,
But
it's
they
not.
did
It's
actually.
the same. It's the same internally.
They did actually improve some of the sensor acquisition so that it can actually medically sort of gather some statistics about yourself wearing it that the old one could not. So they did improve some sensor stuff with it. That's well over my 60 seconds, so I apologize.
Yeah.
As you should.
Nah,
But I mean,
I don't mean it.
Look at this beautiful website. And wouldn't you buy the iPad Mini just because of this?
Was that trying to sell me milk?
They squared off the corners on this. I
Yeah,
mean,
of course they did. It's their design language now.
it is, but people thought that was coming to the watch as well, and they turned out to make that way more roundy, for instance. All the leaks had that squared off.
Oh,
but-
what Apple Pencil
not.
So are they
support.
calling that borderless or some crap like that?
You know, I take issue with the fact that they've called certain things borderless when in fact you're looking right at. Isn't that a border?
Massive border.
I see a
on
border.
Right. So,
crazy.
yeah.
It's a
iPad Mini
device unlike
there.
any other.
5G
Unlike-
support in the iPad Mini and USB-C.
Oh, hey, Brett, look, I'm
Yes.
right again. Capacity,
Oh.
64 gigs or 256.
I just hate it when you're right all the time.
Now,
What
I was
happened to
having an
128?
in-depth discussion about this with a friend of mine because he has been waiting for the new iPad Mini for months. Keeps on pestering me about it. Have you
Months.
heard anything? When is this coming out?
Pester.
When's Tim Cook going to get on stage and announce the new iPad Mini? And then it comes
Well, he did.
out, and it's 64 gigs for $500. Yippee!
Yeah, that does seem a little bit pricey. I agree with you.
And you can only fold it once.
Yeah, it's very limited utility in
And
that.
then it's
No,
not
you know,
useful
you
anymore.
don't want a foldable screen. Just stop with that gimmick. Forget it.
Hey,
That's
I have seen
dumb.
some pretty
Dumb.
compelling looking commercials for the Samsung folding phone. I kind of,
And
I
that's
just want,
where it ends.
I
I've seen
want
some
to reach
commercials.
down and
It
flip it
ends
open
at compelling
and
commercial.
close it.
And you want to be BTS, don't you?
I do. I want to be JK.
You want to?
I want to be Rap Monster. You know, I want to be a member of BTS.
And for those of you who are not 13 years old and a girl, BTS is a Korean band.
Yeah, I don't really understand
It's
why
a
they're
Korean
called
boy
BTS.
band.
I'm sorry, it's
What?
Josh. You're entirely correct. Yes.
They're the Bangtan Boy
I grew
Scouts.
up in the 80s, and of course, in like '89, New Kids on the Block came out. It was the
Thanks for reminding me.
boy band that
It was.
Didn't they come
it was
out
a
as
new
old
thing.
Kids on the Block not too long ago?
let us all down a very dark hole.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
final word on this. I'm going to let you know how much I enjoy trading in my SE2 for
SE2.
a 13.
If you just got yourself any newer iPhone, you'd probably be amazed.
This is an SE2. This was last gen. This was the one.
Yeah, but SEs are always like 2 or 3 gens old, all cobbled together.
I kind of wanted a button, and now I'm glad
Sort of like
that I
the
have
XR.
one because they've sort of gone back to face really doesn't work with a mask on. So sorry about that kind of thing. So sticking with a button.
Can we talk about a more ridiculous phone now?
But hey,
Yes.
but real quick, Brett,
Okay.
if you had the
Okay.
watch,
Okay.
if you
Okay.
have the watch and there's a passcode, and you unlock the watch and you're wearing it, you don't
Yes.
need to take your mask off to do Face ID on the phone because it will check
What
your
you're
watch to
saying
make
is-
sure that
is
it's
that-
still unlocked.
Is invest fully in the Apple.
Yeah, you have to be totally. I don't know why you are not totally into the Apple ecosystem. You should
Because
be
I'm just
using
not
the
made of
watch to
money.
unlock your phone.
I'm just not made of money, and Tim Cook has not gifted it to me. That's why.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't Apple essentially
you-
steal a keyboard app for their watch from another guy, and then
They
that
did.
guy who developed that initially, they then kicked him from their store?
They did.
Nice.
They didn't kick him from the store. They never even allowed him in because it was like, no.
Larger
watch does not do
question.
Keyboards.
Is Tim Cook evil? Is he actually evil?
Yes.
On a scale
Evil.
of what to what? Like Google to Sauron?
Sauron. The Eye
Somewhere
of
in the
Sauron.
middle there.
Okay.
And besides, why
going
didn't you
to
set up
visit
your
him.
Face ID with the mask on?
I'm going to visit him in his dreams this evening.
Okay. Hey, what is the Anam phone with an O? This isn't that weird, like, phone we talked
The
about.
one I
few
brought
months
up a
ago.
few weeks ago?
It's not that, is it?
Is that the one where you
No,
can sing it?
but it's-
Anomenom. Do, 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 do. Anomenom.
Anomenom.
Do, do, do,
Anomenom.
do. Anomenom.
This looks like the Apple,
It is. It was a weird icon, Jeremy. Difficult for me to follow you on this one.
It's like, why are we looking at the Mac calculator from a previous version of the operating system?
Because the Anom phone is specifically designed for the criminal element that would only be able to buy it from a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that, if you give me about $1,700, I can get you this phone. Now, it can't make phone calls, can't go on the internet, but as long as you give me the $1,700 and a $1,250 annual fee, you can bring up the calculator app on it, and you enter in a secret code, and it will hook you up to the Anom text app, which only can text other Anom phones. And so that way you can do the secure drug deals over mysterious network that we all know doesn't exist. You're still freaking using either a Wi-Fi or a cell. And so apparently this was very popular among the criminal elements, especially in Australia, but also in Turkey, Germany, and a couple of other places. And, drug dealers picked this up thinking it was brilliant. I mean, if you're going to fork over this much money, obviously someone is in charge of it. Well, yeah, someone was, but someone got busted by the FBI as they were developing this thing.
And Interpol.
And Interpol. Yes, it was a global thing.
Wide-ranging.
Yes, wide-ranging. And so, yeah, once you signed up for it, the FBI and Interpol were essentially getting all of your texts. Every single frickin' one. So about 27 million messages were sent across these idiot phones. And we're talking thousands of arrests and, tons of drugs being intercepted at various ports because they were monitoring this. And Pope Hat will be very impressed that this was actually a RICO case. The conspirators were actually busted under the RICO Act. Yeah, if somebody tries to sell you something for a huge amount of money that says, and they say it can do a bunch of things that you kind of think it shouldn't be able to do, you're probably right. And yeah, Freedom Phone is going to work out to be the same damn thing as this. On the plus side, I mean, it gets a lot of drug dealers off the streets. They didn't catch many human traffickers or sex traffickers, but I mean, still, they busted a fair amount of people because they were dumb enough to think that, yes, this magic phone that I pay a whole bunch of money for is going to make me invulnerable to everything. And nobody got secret policeman's haul. I mean, seriously.
Wow.
The secret policeman's ball.
Yes. British.
It's been 30 years since I last dove into that, so I'm sorry.
Sounds about right. Still the funniest thing I've read on the internet so far this week.
Let's pause this spirited discussion to hear from this week's podcast sponsor.
Today, many small business owners are busier than ever. Because they have to be focused on managing and growing their business, they can't always afford to spend the time finding good candidates. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has made it easier to find and hire the best candidates. And it's free. Recently, I've had the opportunity to use the system to locate potential positions as well as qualified candidates. For your prospective new hires, the LinkedIn Jobs easy apply process is super quick, making it easy for your posting to attract potential qualified new hires fast. The LinkedIn Jobs platform makes it simple for qualified candidates to find you, as they are the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. The role you post can have applicants fill out targeted screening questions, allow you to find the most qualified candidates with the experience, skills, and motivations that you need. Use your dashboard to then filter and prioritize the top candidates for later interviews. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates worth interviewing faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? So post your job for free at linkedin.com/PCPer. That's linkedin.com/PCPer to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
And we're back to go through the last couple news stories here. There was actually some hardware. We can cover hardware too. It doesn't have to be just, security stuff and complaining about Apple. The elusive, Jeremy says, Leopold FC660C. You know what that C stands for? Capacitive.
Quiet. It stands for quiet. Oh, wait, that doesn't start with a C.
Well,
Sorry.
it's the same sound. They're like siblings, but they look different.
English is hard.
Is
it Kauai?
It's a weird
It is.
language.
It is. They spell it with a
not.
C in Canada, though. That's my understanding.
No.
Okay. It is a pretty classic looking key. I like these darker keys.
Well, it's got the whole Model M look into it.
Yeah.
Did you notice this is 65% with arrows?
Yes, because 60% don't have arrows. Yes.
Yeah, so it's right on that border of whether or not it has them.
65 is as low as I will go. I have tried
Yeah.
60. I cannot live without arrow keys.
Now, I tried to look at these upper right-hand corner ones. Jeremy, what's in the upper right-hand corner? What are those two keys?
Insert and delete.
Okay.
So you can use Vim with it.
Right on.
No, it's interesting. So the idea is it's electrostatic capacitive switches. So there's no actual mechanical interaction. What it's measuring is the change in capacitance, excuse me, as a key approaches a sensor. This will make it certainly very much quieter than it would normally be, as well as making it... You can actually program how deep you want your keystrokes to be. There's software that comes with it, and if you like to bottom out, you can do that. If you don't particularly like to, you can. And it's a bit of a mix because Leopold is not huge. You don't really see a lot of their keyboards around. So one of the things that they did was do a web-based configurator. So it doesn't ship with software. You go online and you do it. But once you've configured it, it downloads to your keyboard. And so you wander in with a keyboard and you plug it into somewhere else. It's still going to be able to work in exactly the same way that it did when you programmed it. It's tear apartable. If you don't like the Topris switches that they put in, you can put in different ones. Their electrostatic capacitive is going to cost you a wee bit more than the old mechanical, but at the same time, it's just something that you can brag about to your other keyboard aficionado friends that apparently some people have. I'm not
like
a
Scott
big one,
Lawson.
Like Scott, yeah.
It's not that I love keyboards,
you know what?
it's that everyone else does, so I write about them.
I don't have to
Some
be a
people
Scott
have
Lawson.
hobbies that they look at internet pornography, and other people build keyboards.
Yep. And they're
Either way,
same
they keep their
class
hands
people.
busy, Josh.
Same,
Yes.
like equal. But to be honest with you,
sometimes it's circular in a way we don't want to think about. Anyway, go ahead.
I actually don't mind being able to set like the trigger depth on a keyboard of
Wait, we talking
type.
Keyboards? Okay.
We're still talking
yeah.
keyboards.
It is
Still talking
convenient to be
input.
able to choose your own depth.
It is.
We're taking the
And
input-output
how
here, Josh.
how deep you press.
Yeah, like how far do you want it to go down, and then how
and
it's
then
going
back
to
up
come back
again.
up and all of that stuff.
Like how
Now,
fast
unfortunately, there's only one size it will fit.
And let's not talk about resistance.
Yeah, and the
or
force. Yeah,
clicking.
there's a certain amount of force you have to use.
I think the force appears to be the same for all the keys, that's interesting. Maybe we should talk to them about that. How do we get more force on the keys, programmatically, without having to change spring rates or anything? Magnetics, that's where it's at.
Hire Mark
do that.
Hamill.
That's not the same force. It is, but it's not.
It is all the force.
The force surrounds us and binds us.
Yes, it does. So yeah, set your depth. No one knows what this podcast is about anymore.
No, it's
No.
okay. Hey, ExpressVPN.
Oops.
Did they
Oh,
buy someone or were
Jesus.
they bought?
You remember Superfish?
Yeah.
Remember people getting really pissy about what Lenovo did?
Are you talking about the music group of all
No.
the members of Fish who came back
That's
together
fish.
to make
That's with a P. It's
Oh, okay.
There's no
I'm
F
thinking
here, nor
this one's
H.
with an
No.
F.
Anyway.
This was the ridiculous spyware that came pre-installed on a bunch of Lenovo laptops
okay.
several years back, brought to us by the wonderful company that was called Kape. Crossrider. So Crossrider was essentially in business for injecting adware into your browser, into your image of a new computer, into the freeware that you liked, and you skipped that one step where it was like, hey, we're going to install this stupid software, and you just were doing the spousal install and saying yes, 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 and had to uninstall it afterwards. Well, so Crossrider rebranded themselves a couple of years back, and they turned themselves into Kape. Kape is an internet security company and a privacy company, which, I mean, on one hand, who the hell else would know better about how to protect your privacy than someone who was stealing it previously? True. On the other hand, can you really trust that they've given up on their old habits?
Is it really about trust, or is it more about watching that thing that's not available in your region on Netflix?
Well,
Seems to be how they
that's-
kind of
that's a
sell
fair
this.
That's a factor.
And-
It is a selling factor.
Yeah.
It is.
And the other interesting thing is that this is the latest purchase that they've had. They'd recently bought CyberGhost, ZenMate, and Private Internet Access. Although I would never trust anyone called Private Internet Access. So now they're up to 6 million customers because they just bought out ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN, a lot of people like because it was out of the British Virgin Islands. GPDR applies there, not the US privacy laws. Like, say, NordVPN based out of the US. So, yeah, good luck with that one. This really does kind of put a big question on whether ExpressVPN is worth keeping or not. I don't know. This
Well,
is
we'll have
very
to
new.
analyze that behavior, but it does actually put some doubt as to where they're going based upon who owns them now. So,
Yeah.
people might bail because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
wouldn't blame
but
'em.
luckily they were signed in for a year-long contract at a discount, so the company
I guess-
might not care that much.
I guess I'd have to say I got to wait to see where they land on this. People they'll analyze this and they'll see what is really going on. So
And,
near term, probably no
ExpressVPN
changes.
Yeah, and then there is also the idea that when you Borg a company, it's not instantaneous. You have to spend a lot
that's
of
what I mean.
time changing how things work, and ExpressVPN isn't going to change instantly.
Right.
But yeah, keep an eye on it.
So 6 months from now, you might want to take a look again and see what's really going on with your traffic if you're still using ExpressVPN.
Oh, that's depressing. Hey,
Yeah, a little
It's
bit.
not great.
another piece of depressing.
Oh, nice,
news.
Soren.
That's good.
Welcome, Mr. Sebastian.
Mr. Peak.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it again.
Well, hey, not so depressing. It seems kind of the norm these days.
Please,
another
show
delay.
on, Mr. Peak.
Battlefield 2042 delayed by 1 month.
This is
Can
my
we
shocked
live?
face.
They don't want another Cyberpunk, you know. They
Can
want it
they
to be
fix
finished. What's going on
Can
with
they
it?
fix it in that amount of time?
Unforeseen challenges.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Unforeseen challenges is that, the open beta, like, people didn't come back with glowing reviews.
Okay.
Shows real promise.
Well,
I'm telling you.
What they're doing here is really ambitious. They're allowing you to pull in resources from games as old as 1942, Bad Company 2, a couple other ones too, to kind of build out your own play environment and then propagate those to other people that you want to kind of pull into that. So it's very ambitious. Clearly that there's some stumbling blocks in that. And
Well, you know what
I think
you can say about this group?
what?
They're not bad men, just ambitious.
I'm going to go with that.
Come on. Come
Well,
on.
it hasn't been
Jeremy knows
released
the
yet.
song. Sebastian
I don't
probably
remember
doesn't.
the next line, though, damn it.
He's
No, I
not a
don't
bad
know what
man,
you're
just
talking about.
ambitious. Anyway.
Yeah, you don't even remember it either.
I don't.
Hey, let's do a quick mention of one more game before we get on to our picks.
Yeah! Total
Yay.
Warhammer, Total
What is
Warhammer
this?
3 is also delayed.
Splitgate.
Ken's favorite
Jeremy.
game.
Jeremy, what is this about, Jeremy? Jeez. Halo meets Portal. It sounds intriguing.
No, it's more like Benny Hill meets a first-person shooter, from what I've heard.
That's good.
Okay, so do you like the weapons of Halo? The
Yeah.
sounds of the sniper rifle, the shotgun, the SMG, and that. And did you like Portal? And, putting portals up and jumping around to different places and gaining, excessive velocity as you were plummeting through different highly placed portals, so that you can just boom, 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 and make huge jumps. Well, these guys, I think it's 1907 games. Sorry, I didn't click on my link.
Do you know, this reminds me of the original Unreal Tournament in ways.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like
Especially
Unreal
the
mixed
gameplay is
gravity
also-
Overwatch.
Yeah. So it's not so much mixed gravity as that you're using a portal to accelerate yourself, like this guy just did here.
Well, it depends on where you place the portals.
He just hit him with a
you
disco ball.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's about. I still haven't played it. I should though. And there's a one kill baseball bat involved too, because Fortnite. The idea is that there's certain surfaces in the game which you're related to place a portal on, either an entry or an exit one. Now, only you can see through your own portal. For everyone else's portal, all you see is a red, ominous disc, whereas they can see through it. So you can literally put a portal somewhere and just sort of sit there and wait, and someone walks by and you shoot them in the head. Or you could leap through the portal and catch them that way. But at the same time, they can also, convince you to go through their portal because you got to bail. And so that could well end up launching you at, several hundred kilometers an hour off of the screen, or into a death trap, or, just into another crossfire from their team. It looks interesting because, you've added this sort of extra ridiculousness to it. And Josh is perfectly right, like the old Unreal Tournament bizarre gravity stuff, or the launchers that would fire you all over the place. But in this case, instead of being static, you actually get to place them yourself. Unfortunately, the enemy does too. So it looks kind of interesting. It's free to play. You grab it on Steam for nothing. There are some packages you can pay for. And so they assure you, of course, that the various hats and skins are cosmetic only. But a couple of the ones that are $20 or $30 are like, you get a legendary portal and a legendary jetpack. And I'm not sure if that might change things a little bit. But overall, it does kind of look like an old school shooter with a bit of Portal thrown in so that you can, just randomly fling people into walls or off the map or into a death trap. I need to try it at some point.
A suicide
I installed
rap.
it just before my computer died.
Jeremy, was this game born to run?
It might just be born.
Are we doing Bruce Springsteen now? Why are we doing Bruce Springsteen?
We are. It's a
Because he's the boss.
Suicide rap. Anyway,
Okay.
Hey, I'm not going to waste too much time on this. I just had a little note here because my grand review plans were messed up by some, loss of power that lasted several days. But I had, previous to that, I had posted a quickie review of a new Samsung MicroSD card, which is notable because it's fast and it's 512 gigs. But I haven't read comments since the first one, which was like, you formatted this with NTFS and something about like the flaws in their test methodology and stuff. I'm like, hold on a second. I don't remember there even being an option to format an exFAT from disk management, which I think you can reformat from Explorer into exFAT, but you cannot format exFAT from disk management console. So let me take us out of this browser here and go to the disk management console. There's another volume on this laptop because it has one of those Optane things that's not currently formatted or not currently in use. If you go to format something with disk management in Windows, you get NTFS and FAT32. So what I do when I do these card reviews is I don't want there to be any like bloatware software. Sometimes there's security software and stuff on them. For anything, I always format it before I ever do any testing. I just format with NTFS because it's easy, and I make the volume name whatever the drive is, and that's it. So that's what I did with this. That's what I did with all the other drives that were tested.
You mean you don't use Rufus?
I use Rufus to make bootable ISOs.
George Carlin's dead, man.
Oh, okay.
exFAT, man.
Rufus is a utility. It's great. But anyway, these are it works as advertised. It says it's supposed to be 160 megs reads and about 120 writes. It manages to do that in certain situations like sequential, high queue depth. But anyway.
Hey, as far as the formatting goes, whatever device I'm going to use this on, I usually let that device format it because then it can do whatever bizarreness it's going to do.
Oh, right. Yeah. If this was going into a camera, yes, I do a fresh format in the camera.
I let
my
device
Sony camera
it.
does not like the
Just
format
do
for
it.
my Nikon camera, for example.
And yet they're both the same. They're both
theory.
formatted in a similar file system. Exactly. That's the problem in that way.
Pricing on these cards. It's the Samsung Pro Plus. They've had products called Pro and Evo Plus before. This is just the new
cheap,
lineup.
Man.
It's not bad.
That's cheap.
$109.99 for a 512 gig micro SD card from Samsung that'll do 160 megs reads. Not bad. You add $5 if you want the little USB reader that mine shipped with. So I give it the gold award because it seems like a good value. Like you can get a 128 gig card for $35.
It's gold, Jerry. Gold.
It's gold, Jerry. Yeah.
Okay. Let's.
So let me ask you this
Yes.
real quick question.
Mm-hmm.
How fast were they able to splice your fiber and get it working again?
That was interesting. I'll tell you a story about the fiber too. But let's do picks of the week.
Oh, okay.
Well, we can just here's the thing. When fiber was installed, I have AT&T fiber, and the guy just literally he took it from the street down the side of the house. He drilled with this like 1.5 foot long drill bit through the house and into the living room, and made a mess. And then he shoved the fiber through the wall into the living room and shoved it all the way across the floor until it was hitting the wall on the other side of the room. He then came into the house and cut it, because I don't know why he shoved all this extra in, but anyway, cut what he didn't need and put a little box on the wall inside the house, about knee high on the wall.
Knee high?
That was my fiber box. When the tech came to...
No, that's your radar box.
Yeah.
When the tech came to reinstall it, because it had been ripped off of the house, he's just like, there should have been a junction box out here. We're just going to put one in. So now I have this big box on the outside of the house where the fiber goes in and then connects to the fiber that was already in the house, which connects to the box on the inside wall. So I've got all these extra connections, and they do a mechanical connection for this. It's a single strand. They have 32 strand fiber cable coming to
It's a single strand?
It's a single strand. He said that for our area, we only get one strand per residence.
So they don't fuse all those different strands together, just the one.
And it's not even being fused. He puts it into one. He handed it to me. It was like this little plastic thing, and you push the fiber on one side, push the fiber on the other side, and it's good enough as long as there's not significant.
Do they kith?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. He's like, yeah, we do a light test, and as long as there's enough, light, then it's fine.
No, we do a light test and then we leave. We don't actually see what happened. We just leave.
So now I'm concerned that the internet performance is going to be even worse because I never hit it's like theoretical gigabit. I have.
I've literally never seen anyone with less than a 2-strand in my life.
It's all. I was being told it all depends on the area. The further away out into like the country you go with less population density, said they go to 2 strands. They eventually go to 4.
Oh, because it's darker out there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, we only get one of the 32 strands.
That's just...
You're closer to the core.
There's a really interesting Czech guy who came and installed fiber at our office a couple of years ago. He was an interesting fella. He used to throw Molotov cocktails at Russian tanks because he was old enough that he was able to do that, and he was able to eventually get to America, and he was much happier here than in Czechoslovakia at that time. But yeah, he had that really cool thing that would heat up the strands, and he did like 7 strands for us.
Yeah.
So that's weird that it's just one and they do the mechanical and not actually the, we snip off the ends really nicely and fuse them together and it all works wonderfully, but weird. I don't know.
And then, honestly,
enough, huh?
It costs the same to run 1 strand as it does 2 or 3.
Yeah, I was alarmed.
Don't ask me.
It works. It works.
It works.
Yeah.
I get about 900
Anyway,
down
right
and
now.
900 up with one strand.
That seems like enough.
perks to work. I want to go to the perks.
Yeah, let's Josh start us off with picks of the week. Let's do it.
All right. So I had to buy this for my wife's computer. And for only $279. In fact, it was $289 just a few days ago when I ordered this. So it's gone down $10. And plus, you get a Newegg MSI shopping bag, non-woven black. Value $5.28 for free. So really, you're getting so much. But no, this is ludicrous how monitors have become. 200 hertz IPS, has DisplayPort, HDMI. It's G-Sync compatible. It's not full G-Sync. It doesn't have the G-Sync module in there, but it's the G-Sync compatible officially through the drivers. 29.5 inches, ultra wide screen. It's only 1920 by 1080. Wait a minute. No, it should be. Am I looking at the right one?
It can't be.
It's a 30-inch.
Yeah,
It's got to be 2560 by.
Josh, did you buy her
seems
a
a little
30-inch
odd at
1080p
At 30-inch 1920 by 1080.
Hey, now as you get older, your
200
eyes start
hertz
to
is
go.
nice.
Maybe I screwed
IPS.
around. Oh, this might not work. Anyway, well,
We're going to circle back on this one.
Yeah.
never mind.
I like big
Never
pixels, and I
mind.
cannot lie. So,
Bam.
Yeah, this
Well,
might
it'll
not
go
be the
well
same
with your
one I
single
ordered
strand.
for.
Bam, bam.
playing
Anyway.
DOSBox games on that monitor would be delightful.
Ah, that would be awful. This is.
You know what? I like to set my monitors about 10 feet away. I mean, that's a good look. Way the hell out there. And then I play from way back here.
Yeah, look at you bragging about your contact lenses here.
They fit my oddly spec'd eyes. Yeah. My eyes are way out of spec.
Well, you don't have any.
Nah, that's part of the
Specs,
problem.
that is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, what is your
What?
pick?
Okay, so this one could get me in trouble, but I don't care. There is an absolute lunatic on Twitter that I love named Foon.
Yes.
And he does some amazing things. And most recently, he realized that using some images, there was a character limit which would allow him to upload the source code of the open source original Doom to Twitter and sort of trigger it to play. So he did. Or they did. Not to confuse pronouns.
Yeah.
It was some interesting investigations into how Twitter handles PNGs and sort of changes things. But Foon actually managed to do this, which is just absolutely brilliant. This all became because there was something he was trying to sign up for that was asking the gender, but the gender didn't have a character limit on it. So Foon uploaded the entire source code of Doom and found out that it would kind of actually work. So now
What's your gender?
It's like,
Doom.
What can I do this on? So if you really like insane technical skill, and especially on older stuff, it's well worth the Twitter feed to follow. The Foon's wife is also great. I highly recommend it. But yes, just the fact that you can, if you have enough and intellect and energy and time, you can bloody well run Doom on Twitter.
Perfect.
Anyway, I double checked. It is in fact 2560 by 1080, so it's not 1920 by 1080.
Good enough.
So we had the wrong one.
Yeah.
Good man.
Okay.
It's ultra. It's ultra wide mag 30. It's IPS monitor at 200 hertz.
200 hertz at
And
2560?
basic, HDR 400 or whatever. But it's I've the wife's behind me right now is a 29-inch, and you really don't notice the pixel size on it. You got a good screen. It's IPS. It looks nice. It goes fast. Anyway, just letting you know, it's a nice thing to have, and it's cheap.
Make sure that you get the right
$275.
link in there so that we actually can send people to the right place.
Well, you can. It's the correct thing. They just
they have the
mislabeled
specs
it
wrong.
oh, really? Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I
those
see.
bastards.
yeah,
Okay.
those bastards.
Brett,
Yeah.
what is your pick? this week?
I've been trying to shop at kind of like out of the way places. Typically we pick a lot of things that come from Amazon. We pick a lot of things that come from Newegg, maybe a few other places.
Maxsales.com.
wherever they
So
shop.
you went to CompuCenter, didn't you?
I love Apple.com.
Wherever they shop in
Mall.
Canada, whatever shack they're shopping at there. But I actually was picking some things out of Woot, and I happened to find a rather pedestrian cooler, 280 millimeter Cooler Master ML280 RGB Infinity Mirror
Boy.
AIO, $70.
What is
Woot.
pedestrian about this infinity mirror lighting?
Well, I mean, it's not a really exciting accessory, but it is kind of cool.
It's limitless.
Vibrant.
Limit.
There was standing in the mighty Mississippi.
Standing. Cooling.
My patent leather shoes, and I don't know why.
RGB.
Why?
Vibrant. This is a good cooler, Mrs. Torrance.
Hey, you know what they say?
280.
Comedy-
This is a 280, not a 240.
Am I on mute?
No, you're
No,
here.
but
We're
I
just
just-
ignoring
Comedy
you.
prolonged
Yep.
turns into tragedy.
Oh,
That's
Always leave them
Shakespearean.
wanting.
That's Shakespearean of you.
But prolonged long enough, it turns back into comedy.
Exactly. I mean, tragedy prolonged becomes comedy. It's a really interesting rule. It's truth, though.
Last thing on this one, it is a 280. It's not a 240. So,
good.
it's got some
280 's
extra
good.
capacity.
280
Got
280
oomph.
good. $70 for a 280 with the infinity mirror.
All right, my pick this week. It's not really a pick.
Oh, you have a pick?
No, it's like what the hell happened last week? That's my pick.
Yeah, what happened last week? Tell us. Do tell us.
Chainsaws.
Or you could show us.
I will show you.
You could do it through interpretive dance.
It's hard to tell everything that's going on in this picture. First, my car is holding up quite a bit of a tree, which is sort of
Doing a good
hugging the
job.
car. It did. I will say a Mazda 3 does a very nice job of holding a tree. And then
It's like a driveway tree stand.
there's you can see the live power
Yeah,
lines on top of
that
the
would be
car.
the point right there. The live wire.
Yes, and then down here on the ground you can see my meter, which was ripped off of the house. The whole mass was ripped off of the house. Sparks flying in the air. And this thing, this limb, which was the size of a medium small tree. If I can
Anything but
find-
the metric system in the U.S.
I know.
This
It's-
tree, the size of a small tree.
Well, okay. The limb that fell off of this, that blew off of this tree, was the size of a small tree, and the tree that it came from is this
It's the
massive
size of a large tree.
house crusher,
Yeah,
and you can
the
see
roof is not good.
where it split off, and you can. It's not usually a good thing to be able to see daylight
Daylight through
Next.
your.
Yeah,
through the roof.
through your roof.
Here.
Yeah.
So there's a big
Crossbeam
hole.
go bye-bye.
Yeah, the crossbeam was shattered. Now,
So that's what took us down last week, unfortunately.
The house insurance is full replacement value insurance. The car insurance is just standard car insurance, and it's a comprehensive claim. I have a $500 deductible. So the amount they're giving me for the car, which is just based on Blue Book, current Blue Book, minus the $500, is at some point going to be delivered. So
But there's also an exceptional value of wood in that car right now, so you should get some money for that too.
Well, anyway, this has been the PC Perspective podcast. I've been your. No, anyway, go ahead.
Participant.
please,
and
Josh,
tree
please
limb.
take us out.
And tree limb removal service.
Oh, I just had a back cramp. Anyway, this has been the PC Perspective podcast.
For you to say.
Yes, tune in
Ouch.
next week when we will undoubtedly return for more. And we'll have more to talk about because I'm sure more exciting things are going to happen, or it's going to be that much closer to Windows 11. And
Hooray.